Hello world, and welcome to Ctrl+Alt+Danominator. My name is Dan, and this is a book. What is this? Well, believe it or not, this is the device for today. Multiple, in fact. So everybody get your pencils and papers out, because today we're reading from the Logitech. Yeah, it's okay. I know I'm not funny. That's why I'm a YouTuber. Oh, Logitech, you sure do exist. Look, I've mentioned this before, but I don't hold brand loyalty to any company. As a matter of fact, generally when you start to assume that a company is on your best interests and they care about you, that's generally when they tend to burn you in some way. I'm just speaking historically here. That's pretty much how it's gone for me if I've ever felt the need to stand up for any company, so I just don't do it anymore. I find a good product, whoever makes it, whatever, as long as their reputation doesn't completely suck and the thing is reviewed well. That's generally how I go about buying stuff. I look at the brand name afterwards, but Logitech shows up on a lot of things, if not because they just tend to be the default choice for a lot of tech. I mean, I do have quite a few things from them already. The MX Master 3S is my mouse on my PC. My webcam up there that I use for streaming is a Logitech Brio. That one does pretty well. I've never had any issues with it. And we've actually covered a keyboard on this channel before. This guy, the Keys to Go 2, which I still think is a pretty solid package. I mean, I still can't believe how thin this thing is, but it does the job. $80 of a job, which I might think is insane, but you know, I got it for 40, so I can't complain. They make good stuff. We have no doubt of that, right? I've had a lot of tech over the years, and I think Logitech stuff is what I would at least consider to generally be the most consistent. Except for when you occasionally need to restart your mouse. Because yes, we are at a point where mice sometimes need to be restarted, or the dongle needs to be plugged back in, or the PC program gets an update and it adds AI features you don't want, and then it occasionally crashes. I swear I was going somewhere with this. But the other interesting thing about Logitech is that sometimes they'll just make something really weird, and I don't know why. This is just how I am as a person. When I see a weird device or a weird accessory that has potential to be really useful, that's when I take notice. And yep, that's this guy. You're actually looking at a pop-up desk setup with quite a few goodies on the inside. So we're going to be talking about all of them in depth, and I'd actually like to cover one in a future video in greater detail. But today I just want to talk about this overall package because it really just fascinates me as a product. So this kind of goes without saying, a lot of people don't have a ton of space to create a tech workstation, like this PC desk here that I have. A lot of people can't fit that either in their rooms, their houses, assuming you even have a house in this economy. Somehow I doubt it. Gonna move on before this gets depressing. What I'm trying to get at is these kinds of products can actually be really useful because they allow you to work at a much better posture and also store stuff away when you don't need it, so your space can feel more like, well, your space. So, you know, you get into work mode where you get all your accessories out that you need to work for the day, you prop your laptop up on something, you get to work, and at the end of the day, you just put it all in this funny looking book thing and it goes on a shelf and, yeah, you too can read your Logitech, I guess. Just taking a look at the design, let's get into that first. This thing looks pretty sleek, man. From what I understand, it uses a lot of recycled materials and you can kind of feel it. Like, the build quality is just okay. It's a little rattly and I do have some extra things in there that are sliding around, but general design, this looks pretty good, honestly. Sorry, it is indeed a little slippery. I'm not sure exactly what I would call this, but it feels really sturdy. It's got like, it really does feel like a book spine or a book cover. And then we've got this big strap on the front, and this actually just folds around and you can put it on like that. Now, right now it looks a little bit loose, but fortunately, when you leave it like this for a little while, it does tighten back up. So it seems to adjust for that. But then you go to open it up and ta-da, check it out. You got this nice little space here. It's all nicely organized. I really like how this thing is laid out. We'll talk about these two in a second. First, we got this little pop-up compartment. Got a USB-C to USB-C cable included, not USB-A, because apparently they're trying to kill it off completely. Not very well, I might add. Then we got here a Logitech bolt that I've thrown in here along with a converter just in case. We will return to that in just a moment. Then of course we've got the keyboard right here. So I'm gonna push down right in this area. You lift it out, check that out. So right here, this part lays flat, but this little bit has a bit of a groove to it. It's pushed further down. So anytime you want to take out the keyboard, you just push down at the bottom of the area and then it just kind of flips right out. Come on, that's really cool. Like, that's a nice design choice. It makes it easy to not have to like have a flap here or something where you have to like awkwardly lift it out by a corner or something. That's a really cool design choice. I like that. And yeah, I know, we'll get back to that. But this keyboard is pretty nice looking. Actually, it does have some differences from the keys to go too, but I mean, in all respects, it's pretty much the same kind of idea. The keys are just a little bit higher, not too much, but they feel decent. They feel much more like a laptop keyboard, but in portable form. And even so, it's not huge. You could still just like shove this in a bag if you needed to. Of course, the idea with these accessories is that they stay in here, but I mean, hey, it's your device. I'm not your dad. You can do whatever you want with them. So you could put this in a suitcase or a briefcase pretty easily, I feel. It's a nice design. The keys feel good. They're a little more substantial than the keys to go to because, you know, they're not worried about making this ultra thin thing. But even so, like I said, the size is not bad. Like, this is pretty good for a portable keyboard. And then the main event, at least in my opinion, this guy. We've got the same design right here with the groove for taking this thing out. This is a portable trackpad. Oh, I love it. Look at how cool this is. So this is the Logitech Casa Touch, and I've been wanting to talk about this thing on the channel for a while. I already mentioned it during my Lenovo Yoga Tab Plus review, but just look at how cool that is. I love it. It's so fun. Sorry, ADHD just kind of kicked in. I don't know how to transition from this. So we've got a click anywhere touchpad, which is really, really nice. We've got full gesture support. This feels really nice to slide on. So if you've ever used an iPad case made by Logitech, you're probably already familiar with how this feels because ta-da, check this out. So this is the iPad M1, I believe, Logitech keyboard case, but you know, that works with a bunch of different sizes. I'm just gonna take this part off real quick. This trackpad is very similar. So we've got the click anywhere. There's very little resistance, but you know, like there's still just enough so that you can tap and slide around without clicking on it. But it feels great because you can click from anywhere without a lot of force. So this is really convenient to use. This kind of touchpad, at least in my opinion, is the best thing that Logitech ever borrowed from Apple. It just feels so nice to be able to click anywhere. And I know most mobile devices and even a lot of laptops and PCs at this point are pretty accustomed to just tapping on a trackpad as opposed to clicking on it. But every now and then, clicking and dragging is really useful to have. So if you're gonna make it this way, I've never enjoyed the feeling of having to click a trackpad at the bottom every time. I much preferred my old laptop where there was a right click and a left click right below the trackpad. And then eventually that just kind of got killed off, which really sucks. So if you're gonna make a trackpad, having one with little resistance that's really easy to click anywhere is the best thing ever. Now you might have heard of this before, and yes, I did mention it was borrowed from Apple. Trackpad time again. Yep, this is a Mac trackpad. But here's the interesting thing about it. This is actually operating on haptic feedback. Now, I'm guessing Apple fans are already gonna recognize this, so this is really more of just a history lesson for you guys. But when I have the switch here turned off, you get nothing. So this is actually operating on feeling where your finger is and how firmly you're pressing until it registers a click. So when I turn it on, that's when it starts to register. Otherwise, this thing basically does nothing. But this is a physical button at the bottom of the trackpad, and it still feels pretty natural. So I gotta say, they've done a really cool job with this. So what you're essentially getting when you get this package is an entire desk setup that can be used with multiple kinds of devices. And check this out, it gets even better. So I'm gonna take the keyboard and trackpad out. I'm gonna lift this part up. I'm gonna click it into the magnetic spot here. Check it out. Now you can prop up a laptop on this thing. You might be wondering what the big deal with that is, but let me break it down for you real quick. Posture kinda sucks when using a laptop. Generally, you end up looking down at it. So the idea is that your laptop keyboard is here, your laptop screen is up higher. So it's a little better for your posture, for your neck, for your everything. And then you've just basically got this little triangle setup here. I really like this. This is such a cool thing. And here's a very interesting other little detail. This guy, when it's folded underneath here, it kind of adds as like an anti-slide surface. You can see I'm shaking my whole desk. This is an adjustable desk, that's why it moves around so easily, but it adds a little friction so that it doesn't move around easily. And then you essentially just put the trackpad next to you, your keyboard right below, and bam, you're set to go. This is such a cool idea, and I really like what Logitech did with it. So, what's the catch that I've avoided mentioning until now? Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should take a look at the product page. Oh, $180. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Yup, there just had to be a catch with this, didn't there? Well, I'm sorry to say, I don't think this thing is worth 180 bucks, especially not with the materials it's made with. Like, you're just looking at this from the side. This is a little bit flimsy. I mean, it feels fine, but it does make me question how many years it would last if you were really rough with it. Obviously, don't be. But when you're getting a nice little stand like this, that's cool. The keyboard is cool. The trackpad is awesome. I've never seen any other product sell a trackpad like this if it wasn't made by Apple or made specifically for an iPad. This can be used almost universally with a ton of devices that we'll take a look at in a minute. But this package, I'm sorry, this is like $150 at most, maybe even less, at least in my opinion, especially if you're supposedly using recyclable materials. Like, would that not take the cost down a little bit? I don't know. I'm just thinking paying for the convenience of this is insane. For $180, that's nuts. I mean, you can get a decent keyboard for like, what, 40 bucks? Trackpad, maybe that's more of a novelty, we'll say 50 to 60. And then this case being, say, we're gonna assume that that's another $80. No, absolutely not. I'm sorry. I just don't see the price matchup here and how it's considered to be worth that much, but that's besides the point. Fortunately, I didn't get it for that much. As you guys know, I do tend to take a look for technology in different places and try to get it open box if I can, or even do trade-in deals for stuff. This obviously was not applicable for that, but I did manage to find a listing on eBay at long last. It was listed for 100 bucks as open box, but I did find it to be used, so I complained to them a little bit because it did have a bit of wear on it that I wasn't crazy about. So they actually did halfway refund me. This I technically got for $50. Now for something used like this, I consider that to be much more worth it, but still, I was paying 100 bucks so I could cover it on the channel, and especially to use this trackpad on my devices. The keyboard a little less so because I've already got this, so I know it's a little redundant, but I'll get back to it in a minute. What I'm saying is, I cannot imagine somebody buying this for $180 new. And here's the interesting thing. It seems that everyone else agrees, because now I don't even think you can buy this anymore, at least new. So they don't make the teal and gray color that I currently have here anymore, at least that I can see. It doesn't seem to be available on the site, so you can only get this really ugly, super bright, and I guess kind of purpley color, or you get it in pink. I don't know why they did this. It's so weird to me, selling this thing for that much. I mean, look, these don't even have lit keys, and the trackpad doesn't have any way to see it if you're working in dim lighting. So I just don't see where the extra cost is coming from. And here's the worst part. These aren't sold separately. You cannot get this touchpad by itself anywhere unless you just maybe get it on eBay or something, which sucks because this is such a cool form factor, and limiting it to just people who have magic trackpads from Apple or getting like an iPad case that's only good for one device is annoying. Being able to have this kind of experience for something like Windows is awesome. I have used it on there and I really like it, but why wouldn't you just sell this little bit by itself? It's such a cool form factor and such a great just little device. Like I said, we're gonna be talking about this in a future video by itself. Why don't they sell either of these two separately? Well, okay, at least this one I can Okay, Yeah, gravity works. With the Casa Keys, I kind of get it because you can just like buy a Logitech keyboard and you can probably get one in a much smaller form factor, or you just get one with backlit keys on it or something if that's your thing. They have so many options for keyboards. You don't need this thing if you have another Logitech keyboard. So I guess that one makes sense, but the trackpad just baffles me. I can see this being really useful for a lot of people. I just find it really weird that they didn't capitalize on that. Maybe in the future they will, but I'm willing to bet that because this thing sold so poorly, they might not consider the cost of any of this worth it to do ever again. They might just take this thing off the shelves permanently. This package has been showing as temporarily unavailable on the Logitech website for months, which makes me think they might just completely scrap it altogether. And I mean, I can't imagine it sold well. I mean, this might be good for office workers or something, but otherwise, nah, I can't blame them. They sold it for way too much, and now it might just go out of stock permanently. So this might end up being a rare piece of Logitech history I might end up holding on to. And technically, I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. You see this keyboard? You see this trackpad? You see that little wire that's included? You see this whole case setup? That comes as a kit. This thing, the little Logitech bolt, the USB-C connector that allows you to pair multiple devices to it so you can just plug and play all of these at once, doesn't come with it. I had to buy this thing separately and I waited for a sale because no, I'm not buying a little dongle new for a full price. It was like $15 for this thing if it wasn't on a sale. I mean, are you kidding me, guys? Come on now. Don't get me wrong, it is great that you can pair up to 3 devices at once with these, and one of them can be a Logitech Bolt. I'm just saying, I feel like that should have been included with the box if you're gonna sell such a niche product that has bolt support and then make people buy the little dongle separately. I mean, yeah, they can be used wired, but why would you do that? It's the antithesis of the entire kit. You're trying to just plug these in and you're going, that's it. So sorry, I just feel like that needs to be brought up as a point in the conversation because it makes it even more awkward to buy this as a set if you can't use every connection method with it without buying just one more little thing. I just find that very odd, but maybe that's why it sold poorly. I guess we should get into actually using it now. So I'm gonna put this down here. I'm gonna take these two out and I'm going to ruin my filming setup. Dun, dun, dun. Ah, you can see my webcam. Hello, little webcam. All right, so I'm gonna put my Asus laptop up here. Admittedly, I don't use this as much nowadays, but it is a nice thing to have. And yes, unfortunately, it's running Windows 11 because I hate myself, but this was on a really good deal at Staples, and at least at the time I bought it, I really needed a laptop to bring some of my video editing work with me. I'm sure it'll come in handy again in the future, but here, I'm just gonna plug in the bolt because I feel like it makes the most sense to just use this little guy on it. I've got all of these USB-C ports. But yeah, trackpad works great. I don't have any lag or major issues with it. You can pair it with Bluetooth well, and I mean, it works fine. I just prefer to have this extra sense of security on the connection if I can, so that's generally when I use the bolt. Then of course, got the keyboard here as well, just gonna switch it on right there. And then of course you've got the easy switch buttons, which I really like. That's one of my favorite things about the Logitech keyboards is that they just put them up right there. And then here, there you go. Of course it has a pin in there, so it didn't take it, but you get the idea. This thing works perfectly fine. These two on the bolt, Windows 11, working great. I can do this on Windows 10 as well. Actually, my PC is still running Windows 10, which I wish this thing was too, but that's besides the point. When you plug one of these in with a Logitech Bolt or pair it with Bluetooth, check this out. So we're actually at the point where Windows is pretty good at multitasking gestures. You can slide up, you can slide down, you can do pretty much everything that you expect to, and it still works just generally as a trackpad. So yeah, Windows 10 and 11 really behave well with this thing. So again, that's part of the value with this guy, is just being able to use it on so many devices. Speaking of which, why don't I show you some more for a minute? Now here's in my opinion where things get kind of interesting. So a lot of people don't have laptops or even PCs. They might have a tablet instead. So what if you try to put one of these on here? I've got my Lenovo Yoga Tab Plus, tried and true. Absolutely love this thing, in case you guys weren't aware by now. If you didn't see the review on that, you can. But Yeah, so this isn't really much different from just putting a tablet on your lap, is it? Now, you could try to move this up here, but as you can see, this isn't really an officially supported angle, so it's more likely just gonna slide down right there. And at that point, what is this good for? But then I thought about it for a bit, and actually, you could kind of use this if you really wanted to for working on art, perhaps, if you're an artist. Maybe this is a better angle for working on stuff like that. And then, of course, this does have a kickstand, so I mean, you could put it up here, but then, I guess you could go back a little further, but yeah, this is just like having a tablet on your lap. There's not much point to doing it this way. So for talking about this for the rest of the time, I think I'm just gonna take this part away because we really don't need to discuss it further. I feel like it's a cool piece, but there's not really much to say. If you don't have a laptop that fits this nicely, then it's not really gonna do you much good. But there's a decent lip here for, I feel, at least like most small laptops are gonna be able to fit that, and maybe even bigger ones as long as the bottom is thin. It should hook the laptop pretty well. So yeah, this part's all right, but I'm gonna put it away for now. It doesn't have much more use at the moment. Side note, actually, I do find it interesting that this came in teal. What is the tech world's obsession with teal as of late? Like, I'm not complaining, I just think it's a really cool color, but like, look at that. These two look like they could be related. I just find that really funny. Okay, moving on. So in my opinion, where this package gets really interesting is its use with Android devices. So I'm not sure if you guys know this, Android trackpad support has just kind of been sucky for a long time. It took them a while to catch up to this. Like, Samsung was really the only one that seemed to know how to do it properly at the very least, because, you know, they had keyboards with trackpads included in them, and they had Samsung DeX going for it, so you kind of had to at least have basic trackpad support. But maybe it's around Android 16, 17 they finally started working on this. But here, check this out. So I'm gonna turn these two on, and that's kind of cool. If you see right here, the trackpad does have a light that shows the battery on the top that just kind of blends into there. I really like that. But then I'm gonna switch over here to connection 2, and I'm gonna do the same on the keyboard. So I've got my swipe gestures, they all work great. I can right-click on things, if you can believe it, and that actually registers. So places that I tend to go on Discord or anything else that might be applicable for this, so like the settings, check that out. We've actually got like genuine right-click support. If I do 2 taps on the trackpad, that counts too. I can also do it here on YouTube, and it can be anywhere. Remember, this is a anywhere click trackpad, so I can do it up on the top here and it still counts, and then I can launch it just by tapping. So look at how natural that feels. And remember, when we reviewed this, I mentioned that the included keyboard case had a bit of an issue with the trackpad where for some reason when you would tap instead of click, it was weirdly delayed. Not a problem on this. This guy is just so speedy. I really appreciate how just well it works. And we're not even using the Bolt right now. This is just a Bluetooth connection. This was my cafe setup for months before I finally found some decent part-time work. I used this all the time, and it was so nice to just take all of this in one bag and be good to go. I didn't actually bring the book with me most of the time because I didn't need the Casa case, but these two fit so nicely in the case that I had bought for this tablet, or at least the bag anyway, and I could just go. Can do a quick typing test here, although to be honest, it's a Logitech keyboard, so there's not really much to say about it. Yeah, it works great. And actually, I think I do prefer just a little bit to the keys to go to. I understand this is trying to emulate the feeling of that like 2016 era MacBook where it's really thin, but this is still better. And honestly, I consider this to be even better than that. It's just got like a millimeter of extra travel and to the height of the keys, and it feels good. It really does. Like, you can just go on this for a long time. I've written entire video scripts on this keyboard, so I have to say I do prefer it in some ways. But while we're here, we can take a quick detour and talk about the keyboard itself for a minute. So of course, we got the escape function lock button right here, the 3 device switching keys, the emoji key, which is supposed to launch the emoji keyboard. Only works on iOS, okay. We've got a voice typing button. That takes me home, okie dokie. We've got a screenshot button. Also only iOS for some reason. The media keys, which I can confirm to work. We've got the volume buttons right here, that works perfectly fine. We've got a microphone mute button, which is always nice to have. I can't complain about that. And of course, just a regular delete key, which you can also use to lock your device. Yeah, these are kind of weird, I gotta be honest. I do sort of think that the function keys on here were better on the keys to go to. So let's see how these compare for a minute. We've got 3 device switching keys, makes sense. We've got 2 brightness buttons, which since they work universally on everything I've used, I greatly prefer these and I wish they'd been put on the Casa Keys instead. We've got a task switcher button, that works perfectly fine. The emoji one, which also only works on iOS, whatever. The screenshot button, and then the media keys right here and the volume. I just kind of think I prefer these. I sort of wish that the Casa Keys had used this layout, but whatever. At the very least, the most important part is that it types, and it does type very well. So using these two together is pretty sick. What really impresses me again is this trackpad. It is so unique for its form factor, and the fact that it is just working natively on Android, you feel like everything you want to do just works instantly. It's so quick, it's responsive. Man, this is just such a cool piece. I wish they were selling it separately. Might actually be breaking the device record today. Ta-da! The M1 iPad. Yes, it does exist. I'm finally showing it on screen. Imagine that. So, I've actually switched my keyboard and trackpad to the third connection, which I do use on this. You might be wondering why I use these with an iPad when I have a Magic Keyboard right on it that I got from Best Buy on like clearance one day. Sometimes it's just nice to have these at a distance. You can, have them on your lap or something, or maybe you don't want the entire iPad in your lap, whatever. It's just nice to have. So here we go. I've got my trackpad. That's working great. I can switch from app to app, whatever I've been doing. Trackpad gestures all work great. Everything is just exactly as you would expect it. It's very smooth. Same thing with typing. You can see I've got my navigation here. That's working just as well. Can show you the accuracy of the trackpad while we're here. Does anybody remember Paper by 53? I think they got bought out by somebody called like WeTransfer or something, but here, got my trackpad right here. Just clicking and dragging, doing exactly as it should. Of course, when I slide around, that doesn't do anything because it's a drawing app, and I'm pretty sure only Android allows me to slide around to draw if I want to, but it's pretty good, man. Like, it's pretty accurate. It's keeping up with me, feels good. I can get around when I need to. It's just very fast. I really appreciate it. And finally, just another test to show that it works. Yeah, pretty much exactly what you expect. And a lot of these keys here work on iOS even though they don't on Android. So here I can just take a screenshot like that. I don't know why Android doesn't do that. I consider it to be more of a Logitech thing than anything else. They've primarily worked with iOS first, I think. So yeah, that probably explains that. But that is pretty much all I have to say about the Casa. It's just a really cool niche thing that works really well. It's got like a really cool design. It folds up nicely. These devices all work great. Their designs are fine. The battery life is good. Everything works as intended, but there's just these weird little isms holding it back. The lack of an included dongle so that it can connect to one of these, even though it can do it natively. The fact that it's $180 in price. The fact that some of the keyboard shortcuts only work on certain devices when this is supposed to be a universal kit for anybody. Like, let's just think about somebody using this niche for a second. Imagine that you are an office worker who has started to work from home and you've either bought a cheap laptop to do business or you have a company laptop. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, I need something that gives me just a starter kit for working at home. And then they go into the store, assuming that these were ever in store. I'm not sure they were. It seems like it was only an online product or maybe at Best Buy to me. And they see this Casa set and they see, oh, so I get a kickstand for my laptop, I get a keyboard and I get a trackpad all in one. That's great. And then they see the price of it and they're paying probably half as much as they would to just get a laptop. And at that point, it's like, why would you spend so much on a thing that is admittedly really cool and really niche and fills a need, but then you're spending a ridiculous amount on it? I think that might be what killed the Casa, in my opinion. I still think it's really neat, don't get me wrong. Like, as a product, this is just so much fun. And I know I've already talked about it a few times, but in the future, we're gonna be talking more about this trackpad because it unlocks something really cool about one of my favorite devices. So you're gonna see me using this a lot more in the future. But overall, I just find this to be just such an interesting part of Logitech history. And if they ever bring this thing back or they ever start to sell this thing separately or maybe try to sell the desk kit in a different form factor again, I'd be very interested in it. But it's gotta be priced better. And I know it's a lot to ask in the day of tech that we live in currently. Oh my gosh, things are only getting worse. But I just find this a bit of a hard sell, and if I hadn't gotten it for 100, which turned out to be 50 because the seller wasn't completely accurate about their listing, I wouldn't have this. But I wanted to talk about it on the channel because I think making stuff like this that appeals to someone with a small space is really cool, and it's really considerate and innovative. So yeah, it's just a weird thing, and as we all know, I like weird things. So I hope you've all enjoyed this. This is probably the most interesting detour I've ever taken on the channel, and I'm really glad I have this thing because it does come in handy sometimes, but I can totally see why it didn't take off. But that's about all I got for you today. So hope you've enjoyed this look at the Logitech Casa. Definitely going to be talking about it more in the future and using it with future devices, so look forward to that. And of course, until my next video, this is Ctrl+Alt+Danominator signing off. See you later, tech heads.